You're live in case you didn't know. Just kidding. Welcome everybody, and it is Monday night. And probably if you're like half the country who might be watching a basketball game tonight, it's like Tuesday morning or Wednesday before you actually decide to watch us. So happy whatever day that is for you. But thank you very much for joining Cubbie and myself. John is unfortunately unable to be with us tonight, and so yeah, it is what it is. He couldn't be here, so we are going to trudge forward without him. But he's doing well. He's doing well. So before I don't want like anybody to speculate. Oh my gosh, is he sick or anything? No, he needed tonight off.
Yeah.
He needed tonight off. So next week he'll be back traveling though. He's gonna be traveling, which is like kind of cool for him. Yeah, he gets a night away from like his 8,000 kids.
Yeah. Well, he's got two
Seriously,
in Cuddler.
we talk about basketball. The boy has enough kids in his family without, I mean, he doesn't have any grandkids yet that we know of. Uh, he's got enough kids in his family. He could make his own basketball team.
With one on the bench. So if somebody fouled out or something, he's got room.
And he's got the height. So they might have an unfair advantage against the rest of us. Just saying. Just saying.
And Alyssa
I
can
will say
go.
this that if you are joining us tonight and you are someplace other than YouTube, get over to the YouTube channel. Get over to the Disc Jockey News YouTube channel because I cannot see any comments that are happening anyplace else. And I want to make sure that I'm not ignoring you. Well, at least if I am, it's on purpose. I would never ignore you accidentally. Or
Yeah.
tell me how you doing though? Seriously, like what's going on in Iowa? I mean, have you recouped after yesterday?
Oh, it was tough. It was, but I didn't have high hopes going into it. South Carolina is those girls are just great. They're tall. They got a lot of height. As you can tell, they out rebounded us like easily. I think if we did have some height, it might have been a little bit more compatible. I pinched myself in the first quarter, but I knew it wouldn't last. And I just knew it was going to be a matter of time before they pulled ahead and we wouldn't be able to look back. But it was a great ride. I think she did a lot for the sport and bring it. I don't. A lot of people are kind of down. People who are not Iowa fans or Caitlin Clark fans, and that might be like South Carolina people or LSU people. I don't. I think she brought a lot to the game, and I don't think we'll see the numbers again in women's basketball that she drew. And next year's championship. I hope it does. I hope a person like Juju Watkins, or some of those other stars that got coming up in the female ranks. I hope they have just enough spark to keep that energy alive. But I don't know if they'll see the numbers again. Their practices were sold out in Cleveland, or not. It's free, but it was packed. The arena was packed just for the practices to watch her play. And it was not all Iowa fans that went in there. I mean, there was fans from all over the nation that went to go see her.
I know I can verify for that. Like a woman that's a friend of ours, her sister, and their little daughter all drove up to the game Friday night's game to check him out. I think it was Friday. Anyway, it was in the New York, but it was like oh my gosh, like, and that was the thing. It took an opportunity to drive up to watch the game. Um, Great role model for their daughter, and this is an awesome opportunity there. So I get that. I get that 100%. I didn't realize, and we're not going to talk basketball tonight here, everybody. Everybody's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, what's going on here? If I wanted basketball, I tune in to ESPN. I didn't realize that South Carolina had a whole brand new starting set from last year's
I I
championship.
didn't I didn't either. When I found that out, then I think it was like really near the end of the game. Like, Dawn Staley took five. You lost all five starters last year. I had no idea that she did. So Dawn Staley's a great coach as well. Very good. Like I said, it was just a great game, and kudos to in women getting where they need to be. Women's soccer does really well. I mean, they shouldn't be making less than we do. I mean, they should be. We should support them as much as they support us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, by the time you watch this, because I think there's like three of you guys watching right now on the YouTube channel. By the time the rest of everybody watches this, we'll have known who the men's championship was and or rather who won that. But I just it's funny. I think that game yesterday will probably outrank tonight's game. I know
It
they said it was pulling more numbers than the NBA playoffs. think I heard.
NBA playoffs, NASCAR races. The viewership was just huge last night.
Yeah. So very, very kind of cool in that. Yeah. So, all right. So tonight, in case you didn't read the topic and you're just like, hey, it's Monday night, I'm going to go check out Cubbie and Dan and John, and we decided to ditch us. Um, the topic tonight is going to be about wedding prices. Now, for those of you that tuned into Cubbie and I last week, we made it our best to get through a financial discussion. Tonight is not going to be that same type of show. So I just wanted to kind of, everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're talking money. What are they, bankers now? No, no, no. I might teach math at the day job, but that's about the extent when it comes to that kind of thing. But I think we need to address kind of the elephant in the room. It's not very far that if you're checking out Facebook posts, it's not very far where you have to see some comment about business this year. And we've addressed in one of the previous shows rather about this concept and viewpoint of weddings, and originally just the idea that weddings were down. And we talked about that. And if you didn't see that show, by all means, please go check it out. Not right this second, obviously, but go check it out because we went into a lot of those pieces. But I now have started to see some DJs kind of talking about a different element to it. And rather than just talking about the number of weddings that they have that seems to be down, now they're talking about the prices being down. And I think it's important to recognize that in some cases, I think this is legit. I'm not saying people are making this up, and please don't take it that way if you're one of those in that situation. I don't think that's the case. But we have a lot of things kind of working against the scenario that we have here. One, right? Elephant in the room, it's an election year. Okay. And I don't care who you're going to vote for. I don't care what your current look is on the economy now versus 4 years ago versus 34 years ago, right? I don't care about that. That's not the issue here. But during an election year, and even the year that follows, there's always a hurdle to get over. Our clients don't know what's coming. We don't know how things are going to go come November when the election happens. So leading into that, there's some uncertainty that is in play there. All right. Cubbie, you got scared there for a second. I think you thought I was going to ask you who you were going to vote for.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh shit.
And then what follows, right? Like, regardless of whether your person wins or loses, next year is still an issue of, okay, well, even if my guy lost, is things going to be bad? Right. And so there's that uncertainty. Markets volatile, right? Just when we think things are going to stable out, we have a boat hits a bridge and throws a wrench into like pipeline and supply orders. Unless you're selling solar eclipse glasses prior to today, you probably didn't make as much money as you could have if you had, put some tinfoil together, right? Like those kind of things make an impact. But I think one of the things that is causing DJs to kind of go is our couples are maybe a little bit different than they were the past couple of years. Cubbie, do you see any difference in, let's just compare the couple that you have been meeting with or that you met with in 2023 for your company versus the potentials, we'll say, for 2024, 2025? Any differences that you're noticing just among those couples in general?
I think they are I think they are a little bit more thriftier. I think they are not saying they're looking to save money on a DJ. A lot of them are, but I think it's floral. I know a lot of people save money. They're like doing their own flowers to try to save money that elsewhere. And I know a lot of bakeries that they're not really doing cakes anymore. Before you used to do like lots of cakes, and they used to do like five-tiered cakes. I haven't seen a five-tiered cake, and I couldn't tell you how long. I see two-tiered. You cut the bottom, keep the top for the thing, and then do cupcakes, or maybe go to Costco or Sam's. So I do think they are, less, or budgeting a little bit less, and trying to stay within a reasonable budget, because the people females call it a pink tax. You could call it a wedding tax. I do think, things are inflated sometimes when they do say weddings, but they don't understand how much work that goes into it for each and every vendor, for that florist, and the pressure, the anxiety that we get to produce a great event, to produce great flowers, to do decorations just the way they want them to. More than if I do a corporate, I didn't ruin somebody's day, or I didn't ruin somebody's next 5 years, or they're going to cry about it because it was their corporate party that didn't work, didn't happen the way that it should have happened, or something, or they played the wrong song or something. I just think there's a lot more stress and anxiety that goes into a wedding than it does into any other event. So of course you should get paid more for it, because you're sinking more hours and time into it for the perfection.
You hit on something I think that is actually maybe what is leading to some of the DJs feeling that there is a pullback within the money situation. Think about think about the weddings that you've done since COVID, right? And what I mean by that is since like the COVID shutdown, I should say. When we first came out of it, we were doing a ton of weddings because we were making up for that time and people were making up for that time. But one of the things that I think, if we thought about the numbers wise, right? Prior to 2020, I would say the average wedding was in the 150 to 175 range.
Yep.
You'd have larger ones, you'd have smaller ones,
Mhm.
but a lot of them were in that middle range. We go through COVID, we come out the other side, people aren't inviting as many people, right? I don't know about the numbers in your area, but I know mine is not the 150 to 175. I'm now in the 125-ish, right? And I've even had some that are lower. Like I have a New Year's Eve one this year, which I normally avoid like the plague, but I've got one this year, and they're trying to keep it to 80 people. So that's, kind of what I think has been the sign, is that people see this, and one of two things: the couple mentions that we're having a smaller wedding, and the DJ instantly goes, "Oh, they're telling me that because they want me to lower my price because it's for less people." Or they're telling you that it's less people so that it kind of paints the picture of what you might need to bring. And until you have that conversation, you don't really know. So I think what I was going by with the idea that the numbers were downturning, I think, originally the caterers were the first ones to kind of see that downshift of money saving measures. And whether it was a money saving measure or whether it was just like, listen, we don't have that many friends anymore. Um, either way might be the case. But that has shifted now, right? We're shifting it. We're also shifting. You mentioned cakes, right? Cakes have now come to cupcakes, less that they have
Costco
to
cakes, yeah, sheet cakes from
Costco.
grocery stores or whatever. Those are getting cut back on, I think, a great deal. But I
Yeah.
think when you talk about lesser people, I'm going to go back to that a second, Dan.
Yeah.
Um, Food costs have risen, so they can't feed all those people. Like I know a caterer went up $5 to $6 set from for pre-COVID, because all the cost of everything nowadays, and everybody's talking about the cost of inflation, and so that it probably equates well. That could take $6,000, $7,000 if you, 150 people, food and alcohol and cake and cupcakes. So, you take all that consideration. You go, well, let's just scale it down to like immediate family and really, really close friends. So I think that might be a factor as well, as why some of them might be smaller.
Mhm. And I think there's also kind of that we've determined who's important,
Yeah.
right? Like even to my own family is like birthday parties for my kids, right? So like I'm going to invite my family, but at one time when we got together, it was like all the aunts and uncles, all the cousins' kids, and we'd have like 50 people in a house, like crammed in. And now we get the ones that are like on the same tier of family, right? And so I think some of our couples are kind of doing that as well. And again, it's a place to potentially save. Everything is costing more. So here's kind of the question that I wanted to go with this and kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this is, actually, let me back up. You mentioned the inflation thing. Are we I'm gonna knock on wood and I'm gonna smack myself because I'm gonna like get off here and I'm gonna turn something on and things are gonna go up like $5. But are we kind of protected a little bit from that outside of replacement costs? Like we
Yeah.
don't have a food cost that we have to worry about jumping up, right?
Mm-mm.
Our music subscription services, if they send us 1,000 songs or they send us 100 songs, it's the same, right? It's a flat fee, right? Are we kind of protected from that? Do you think?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, some of our bills that we have is gas. Um, you know, I saw mine went up over 30 cents overnight, easily. And I saw a friend in California post just over $5 in Southern California. I couldn't imagine that. So, like I said, I don't think our costs are going up at all. My insurance didn't go up, my music costs didn't go up. Um, my website's still staying the same. My website security still staying. My email, my three, all the stuff that runs my business. None of those really went up went up at all. So yeah, my cost of doing business remained the same over the last 2 years, basically close. I mean, they didn't jump up and like $5 a plate like some caterers did, but I mean, if it did, it didn't go up for me to look to shop elsewhere.
I think that's good. Like we have that kind of in our back pocket that we can utilize and make sure that we're um being realistic, in front in some of this because I've had some DJs that I've seen on groups go, well, everything's going up. I might as well raise my prices too. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't raise your prices, but if your philosophy is, well, everything's going up, how much of your stuff is going up? Right? Speakers are costing more. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying our controllers don't cost more than they used to and that kind of thing. But you don't need to buy a new speaker for every wedding. Like a caterer has to buy a new plate of food, right? You don't have to buy a controller every month. Like somebody might have to insert whatever. So that's one thing to keep in mind. All right. So that's to each his own on that part. But the next question I have is, are you seeing the same perception for your own businesses, for your own business? Are you still seeing that your couples like are they coming to you more thrifty maybe and expecting you to lower your prices?
And they never really expect me to lower my prices. Um, the ones that I have a really tough time with are the non-referral, haven't seen us ones before, that haven't, maybe didn't have a brother or sister, maybe they're the first one in their family getting married and they really have experienced what some of this was going to cost them. Or yeah, because people talk and well, you get it. Well, approximately how much was your DJ? So if he went up a few $100, since they got married 2 years ago, that's fairly reasonable, right? But if you went up $700, that's pretty unreasonable. They're like, wow, that's a big difference. So they might not go with you, even though they might be referral. Um, I think like I said, the ones that are easy to sell know what we do, and those are lay down. So yeah, I hang high on those. Um,
And I think you just hit on something that's going to be key for the next 2 years, if not future, right? As couples become more price savvy, right? I'm not gonna necessarily call them thrifty. I'm not gonna say they're necessarily not gonna spend the money, but as they become a little bit more price savvy, maybe price conscious, making it so that you have that referral source, I think is going to be key to making your business have the opportunity to talk to them. All right. And so what I mean by that is I'll be honest, I haven't seen a couple say no to me when I've had a chance to talk with them. Like they're not, we start talking, we go through everything, we get to the price, I lay it out, and usually we sign. Now, where do I lose them? If I never get to that meeting, if I never get a chance to have that conversation with them. Now, do I believe in then I don't share my prices until I get to the meeting? No. And I know some DJs that believe that, and that's fine. That if that's how you do business and that's what you need to do is to require that meeting before you share something with them, so be it. I personally don't agree with it. That's why I don't do it as much as I might want to because I have a better conversion rate when I get them to the meeting. What I think has happened and what I think is important is for them to know something about you coming in. Right. So Cubbie mentioned like those that have seen us, they know what we bring to the table. They kind of instantly have this guy's worth it or this company's worth it. I know what I'm going to get if I get them versus somebody else who, yeah, they might have some reviews online, but how do I know they didn't pay someone to put them up? Right. And how many Amazon reviews have you looked at, where you can tell like somebody got a little under the table to be able to write that thing? So I can see where some people may be hesitant just to look at reviews. So being able to overcome that, well, if I just lay everybody out on the table and they all look the same, nobody's going to cost any more. I'm going to go for the one that's going to be the cheapest or cheaper because I'm going to save some money. Right. Like there's some people out there that are like, listen, I'm not going to go with the cheapest because you get what you pay for, but I'm not going to necessarily go with the highest because, well, then they're overpriced. If everything looks equal, then I'm going to go with the middle of the road, maybe. So having a source where you get where they're referring you, I think is going to be key. Um, Again, if they see you, you're on a vendor referral list. Um, you know, basically some sort of a tie to where people are recognizing who you are, and you can make sure that you're there. This is not where I was going to go tonight, but starting down the rabbit hole, we might as well. This is where your marketing is also going to become key. This is one place I think where a lot of DJs go, hold up, things are getting tight. I'm not going to do XYZ because I don't know when I'm going to come out the other side. Yet, this is where your marketing needs to be key. This is where your marketing needs to be shown. This is where it needs to be consistent. And this also needs to be frequent, right? You need to have your consistent marketing, but it also needs to be frequent because you need to be able to make sure your name is out there and you're sharing your story. You're sharing your message with that. So Cubbie, I'm going to call you out. What have you been doing for your social media lately?
Because I said that was gonna do it in January.
Huh?
Dan, I really have. I still just horrible at it. I tried to hire a content creator, and she says you're already. Everybody knows who you are already. There's no reason for you to do it. I couldn't even get her to do it. I'm like, oh my God, seriously? Yeah, I need to get better. I still need to do, but it's early in the season. I haven't captured videos on a lot of weddings, just yet. I think we've done, I don't know, 10 or 12. So it hasn't been a ton, but we're gonna get some stuff together. I promise. Next time we
Oh,
chat.
we're in April. When do I
I
got to call you
know.
out on it again?
I know.
But no, but I think that, and I didn't mean to be the bearer of bad news when I came to that, but I was hoping you were going to say, oh, I started like something, but I guess not.
No. But I do
Um,
keep my marketing up. I mean, as far as talking to clients and hotels constantly. I'm always vendor checking in and texting and seeing what's happening and sending small gifts after I leave a venue.
and that's going to be key too, right? Like you want them to leave with a great taste in their mouth about you, and so when they say your name, it's with a smile and they're sharing that out readily. Um, that's the other thing. Like sometimes there's a couple of venues that I work with where I'm one of the DJs on the list, right? I'm one of maybe five. All right. And there's others where I'm, one of 35. the one of five obviously is working out a lot better for me. But even in some of those other cases, I'm getting my name shared out, I think, more often, or my name's at a higher list. I really don't believe that some of these couples that are reaching out to me from coming from these venues are contacting every name on the list. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't foresee that being the case. They're not doing that. So if I'm getting a consistent message coming from one particular venue, I know they're sharing me out more than the others, or they're putting me at a favorable spot in their list. So, all right. So what can we do, right? So here's where I think weddings are starting to come and are starting to go. And I think that this is the prediction that I'm going to make that's going to be the path for the next 2 years. And I'm hoping in some aspects for some of you that I'm completely wrong. I think where the biggest line is going to happen is going to be the middle. I think that's where we're going to get a canyon of problems for DJs. It used to be if you were in the low end, it was so saturated, everybody felt like everybody was tire kicking, and it was a fight for that low end. And that's why DJ kept going lower and lower and lower. And you would notice that as you got into the mid range, there was a little less, but it was a nice area to be in some aspects, right? You were bringing in a little bit more money. They weren't necessarily tire kicking. And as long as you were consistent, you were getting events. And then there was the high end where your number of events might be pulled back a little bit, but you really weren't getting pushback on anything or as much pushback. What I think we're going to end up seeing is that middle is going to start to create a big divide. I think our low end is going to keep getting lower. I think the middle is going to put, like, if you're on the lower end of the middle, I think you're going to get that response where we're seeing where the couples are being a little bit more thrifty, and they're saying, you know what? I'm sorry, $1,000 is too much. If you want us to be your couple, you're going to come down to 700. I'm just throwing out numbers. I think if you're on the upper end, you could continue to go higher, and they're going to be like, you know what? Yes. Because one of the things I think that is working is people are used to paying a little bit more money. So they're kind of expecting it for some of these events that it's going to be more money maybe than it was 5 years ago. So they're more accepting of that because they're already in that higher paying frame of mind. And so something that's more expensive, yeah, I'm willing to spend a little bit more for it. And they're also seeing some horror stories, not necessarily in the wedding market, but think of some of those companies out there that are offering you great, great products for real cheap prices. One's 4 letters, starts with a T, right? And then they get it, and it's like the Wish version, right? What was that? Wish.com version of stuff where
Yep.
it was like you asked for one thing and you got the dismantled version of it or something. Like the same idea. So they recognize, listen, I'm not going to pay, or if I pay more for something, I'm going to avoid that problem. So I see this big divide. Hey, do you think I'm completely off my rocker there?
No, I do think, yeah, lower, if you're super low, the people for a quality bride. Now, once again, there are different markets, and I'm not saying, and there's a place for everybody. And every bride should have it, but the lower income ones that are looking for lower, cheaper DJs are going to stay there. But if a high end, if you got a nice bride who's got a nice income or a nice budget, and the DJ's too low, that's like a red flag. Like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he so low? So I think it's kind of a red flag. And then the ones that really price themselves out of the market that are just super above the market, they're like, I can't afford that. I could put, they can put money towards something else. So you like you said, you got to find that sweet spot that I say lower to high end, the low mid to high end. Like, so if the high end in your market here, if you're just like right here in the middle of the high end.
But what about that idea? Do you think that we're going to have that great divide there in the middle because that's where I think it's going to end up happening. I think the people that are more budget conscious are going to become even more budget conscious and looking for all those options in everything. I mean, we're talking DJs tonight, but I think venues. I think we're gonna. I think in some aspects there's going to be a return to some of those. And maybe in your area they're still doing them, but like the fire hall weddings, the VFWs, right? Like I feel like those places, you know, 15 years ago, you had a wedding there like every weekend. Maybe you weren't doing it, but there was a wedding there every weekend. Now you can go by and you maybe see two a year. I think we're going to see a little bit more return to some of that stuff because of that. But budget, I mean, I really feel like some are going to become more budget conscious if you're in that already budget area.
But a good friend of mine, a photographer, he told his daughter his budget, and this is Iowa, ladies and gentlemen. We are not on the East Coast, Miami, and it's not an extravagant wedding. It's a very simple wedding, 100, like I said, about 125 people, but the budget was $15,000, and they've superseded that already, and just also like just things they didn't really expect that comes up, so they budgeted a certain amount and they've already exceeded it
For their wedding that you're talking
for the
about, right?
daughter's wedding. Yeah, coming up
For
on
the
May
daughter's
4th.
wedding. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that part. I wasn't sure if I quite heard
I
it
yeah, I
completely
said
there.
I
So
should have said it's his daughter's, but yeah, it's a friend of mine's daughter's wedding.
okay.
And they set a budget and they've already exceeded it.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's to be expected too, right? I mean, unless you are in the industry, I'm going to say in the industry of wedding planning, you don't have a great concept of the cost that goes into an event, into a wedding. If you like, you might have a great idea of what a wedding DJ costs and what a wedding DJ should cost, right? You might have an idea from some photographers because you talk with them a bit or whatever. But you probably don't get into all the nuts and bolts with every vendor. So yeah, very quickly I could see that surpassing whatever budget is that you potentially set at. And I don't think 15,000 for a wedding anymore is unheard of. I don't, whether it's Iowa, whether it's East Coast, whether it's, some Ponunk area. Like I think it's very easy to surpass that. Um, just because a lot of places, and I'll put this in perspective, like a lot of places, if you do like an open bar, it's at least $50 a person.
Oh yeah, they count six drinks because they're gonna set two down after they're drunk. So they tell people to budget six drinks per guest, whether somebody drinks soda or not,
Okay. Well, I mean,
at
you
$8 a
have
drink.
different
So
open bar packages. Is that what you're getting at? Or
yeah, so like they said, well, they'll
okay.
say if you want top shelf liquor, it's like X amount of per person, right? Per drink per person. And then it's yeah, so then you can come up with that. That's how the formula I think they use is six drinks per person time the number of guests on whatever top shelf of what just beer and wine or whatever all night
Okay.
long.
Okay. Now I'm following. I wasn't following the logic there, because I didn't know the nuts and bolts like with that with the venue. I would just saw the different packages, right? Like open bar, top shelf, open bar, mid shelf, but that makes sense, like the six drink idea. Um, but that that's going to make an impact, right? You have $50 a person. Let's say you do 100 people, that's 5 grand, right?
And
That's five
then
grand just for that.
and then add gratuity because they slap on 18% gratuity at least the venues I have.
Yeah, yeah, they all do because that's how their stuff's gonna make anyway. So
Yeah.
exactly, 15,000 is gonna go real quick, real fast, and we were just trying to keep some numbers nice until Cubbie said 18%, and then I'm like, even me, I'm going, it's too late to do math. Too late to
But
do
you
math.
feel me though? They add that another 18% that you're like, okay, $5,000 for alcohol. Let's budget that, honey. And then that 18% hits you, and all you're like, oh yeah, there's something you just don't realize.
Definitely gonna make a big impact there. So, well, listen, we're kind of getting down to the end of this. I know we're a little bit short here, but I know Cubby's watching the basketball game over his screen. So I don't want to deter him too much from watching. Who do I mean? Let's go on record. Who do you think is going to win tonight?
I wasn't very smart. I got my money on Purdue in my pool. If they pull it out, then I won my pool. If UConn wins, then uh then I lost my pool. But I'm pulling for Purdue because they are Big Ten, and I'm in a Big Ten kind of a state. So
See, now if you were smart, no, I guess it's not really smart because you lose either way. If I was smart, you would have done one pool, like you said, where you have Purdue, and then you would have placed money someplace else just on UConn, and then that way you win no matter who wins.
yeah, our pool is $100 buy-in, so I was only just gonna do one. I don't make the Dan Carpenter money. I just so
Listen,
$100
Dan
one
Carpenter
pool is
does
good for
not
me.
gamble.
I don't
There's
either. I don't
a
sports bet either. So that's what I said. I'll
yeah.
probably put $100 on it and have fun with it. But yeah, I wouldn't do two where I separated the final winner.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. So, if you ever want to win a bet, don't play with Cubbie because he won't take you up on it.
I don't bet. No, because I'm horrible. I am horrible. We
Uh,
work every Saturday. We can't watch all the games and we can't watch college football. Man, that really bothers me. I haven't watched college football in a lot of years because you're working every Saturday in the fall.
oh, I know. I know. That's been one of my. It's been good because my team has like really stunk lately. But yeah, I feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm missing out on so much. This year I think is going to be interesting. Going back to the whole wedding thing, like what I've noticed has been kind of a shifting of even where couples are putting their weddings. So I actually have some holes in October of this year of all months. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I've got I've got something the first weekend in October and the next three are empty. However, all 3 weekends in the first three, I don't take the last ones because I'm traveling, but the first 3 weekends in November, I'm booked solid. And all of September, I'm booked solid. But October, which used to be the key month, I think couples are kind of pulling away from it. And they're going, you know what? I'm going to save some money if with the venue, or I'm not going to have to fight with the venue to get a venue by going October. If I go maybe in November, it's a little more off season. So I might be able to. And again, you don't know the stuff I mean, there's articles out there that could have said the third Tuesday in, you know, the eighth month of the 24th year is going to be the best to save you money, right? I'm sure there's like some article out there that's been written. If not, AI will do it in 5 seconds. Um, but as a result, like couples are looking for those types of things. So I think we also might start to see a shift on dates that maybe start to fill up more than others. I don't know. I don't know. But at this point, I'm looking forward to actually having October off and watching some football this year.
Oh, you suck. You'll get
Yeah.
calls. I notice people are booking later too.
Yeah.
Like pre-COVID and like going through COVID near the end of COVID, everyone's scrambling for dates and venues. And that's why I think we're really, really hot. Now it's kind of cooled off a little bit. People aren't scrambling as hard and they're booking later, not so far out.
But I think I decided to do something this year kind of for my own self and for my own like sanity with my family and everything. I decided I was going to set a number of weddings that I was going to do, and I really wasn't going to go over that. Um, I'm at that mark, or I'm like one, maybe two away at most. Like the one that I just got for the New Year's Eve, I think may have set me over. Um, but or like hit that mark. But I'm at the point right now. I'm like, you know what? I think I'll be fine. I think I'll be fine. Like again, we know I don't do this full time, so it's not like I have to take everyone to put the food on the table. This becomes the extra money that I set aside for different aspects, and so yes, it would be nice probably to fill those and make a couple, grand or whatever each one to try and be like yes, but I'm also kind of just looking forward to having some time in October and go, because we have like a big parade in our area in October. And every year I don't get to watch my son march because I'm usually going to the wedding to set up, right? Or, we talked to college football. Like I love watching Florida Gators. I don't get to watch them play because, I'm getting my updates on my phone and I've watched some games even after I know they won or especially lately lost. Um, and I'll fast forward through some things just so I can, oh, okay, now I know who's playing. Now I understand who this player is and that player is because I saw the plays that they've done. But it's like I know who won. So it's like, yeah.
That's not exciting either. But I'm so happy for you. I wish I could say I could do the same. One of the perils of going full time, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't want to, have a couple weekends off in a row, don't go full time.
Well, but I think there is something to be said, and if you can set your business up in a certain way, depending upon.
Uh,
I'm not saying like a couple weekends in a row, but I know there's certain groups out there, and again, this requires pulling on multi-op, requires pulling on multiple people, and there are people who will leave a weekend open a month for themselves. Not necessarily because they're going to cover somebody, but just because they're like, listen, I've got enough extra things coming in. I can take this weekend off to spend time with the kids or to spend time with my buddies or whatever may be the case, and just be good. And then there's others who are like, you know what? I'm trying to hit as much money as I can so that I can set enough money aside. So when I finally decide that I'm going to hang up the headphones, that I can do so. And I don't have to postpone it an extra year because I took 12 weddings off a year. Or if I do multiple in a week, like that's a big coin change, right?
yeah,
That's a big difference there. Um,
I do. I take off season off. So like I'm going to Rome in May. Always have to take my grandchildren's birthdays off. So I have one weekend off in July. We're going to Disney World there. So I mean, I get the time off, but during Prime, like October, it'd be hard for me to sit home to know, what I'm saying? So I grab up all the ones I can. I'm kind of like a squirrel in the fall so when the winter comes, fatty can eat over here. And so I try to grab all the nuts I can in the fall. So like I said,
that's the way I was too. I mean, I really was, but I also noticed that my fall was when I would get some like overload, and the day job is busy,
yeah.
right? During the fall, during back to school time, like it gets very busy. And then I throw in a wedding every weekend. So now I'm going 6 days a week, and Sunday ends up being like pure exhaustion, but I need to schedule and plan for the next weekend and what's going on during the week. So I'm I can't say I'm mad at the situation. I can't say I'm really mad at the
No,
situation, and we'll see what
no, it's
happens. I mean, I may get into it. I may get a call next week, and then I go, you know what, I'm going to take it anyway. But
because you did her sister's
as
wedding.
what was that?
Because you did her sister's wedding and they
Yeah,
got to have you
exactly. Like
back.
I know the family. Like
Yeah.
that was one of the things I got a text tonight about a school formal, and originally I was like, you know what, like that month is already kind of full. Do I really want to go down that path? And then it was like, then I looked to see where it actually came from. And I'm like, oh yeah, I just did their dance a couple months ago and it was really fun. All right, maybe I will do it. Those type of situations. And so who knows what October brings. I may change my mind, but in theory, in theory,
Man, that sounds good.
yeah, it does in theory. All right. Well, we are about at that time. So listen, coming up next, we got Hanging with Howie. Definitely head on over DJNTV.com/chill. That is where the gang will be hanging out. You can watch it live, and then when they're done, they turn off the camera or turn off the recording and invite everybody to just kind of hang out and talk and enjoy their day and maybe watch some basketball and how they throw that foul, like all that fun stuff. Like you can check it out. Again, that's coming up, djntv.com/chill. Tomorrow, John's got his tips that's going to drop in the morning. We got at 9 o'clock, Casey Kukuras and Chad Blackburn from the Marquee Show will be on with Big Daddy. They're going to be talking a little bit about the show and what Chad's going to be doing for it. And some of you know Chad, have heard of him, have seen him around. And if you haven't, you definitely want to check out and get his story tomorrow night with Big Daddy. And then what do we got? John's got something weird on the schedule here, but at 9:30 it's supposed to be, although he has some like April spelled weird thing. Optimizing your dance floor lighting game with Ben Stowe. Again, that's 9:30 tomorrow night. And then the Tuesday night music show over at djntv.com/chill. My tips will drop Wednesday morning, and then the broadcast of Hanging with Howie and the Tuesday night music show will be broadcast for everybody to watch Wednesday night. That's what's coming up over the next couple of days. Did you get all that? You
Yeah,
weren't writing it
I
down.
was writing them
You
down.
weren't
Well, I
writing.
got the email. I got the
You
email.
got the email. Okay. So fair enough. And if you don't get the emails, if for some reason you don't get the emails, go over to Disc Jockey News, go over to DJNTV.com and sign up. So you get them and you know what's coming up and you're all good to go. Okay. So you can do that now. All right. Thank you very much to everybody for coming. I hopefully like it wasn't doom and gloom. Hopefully you understand, like, yes, some money is maybe they're being thrifty, but in the same respect, I don't think you have to give into it. If
Mhm.
anything, maybe even going a little higher might save you in the end because you'll be at that higher realm. And again, we've noticed that it seems like the higher ones are the ones that are willing to spend the money. But your business, you do you, boo. Thank you very much, everybody, for taking time. Have yourself a good one.